I'm doing some hills today and winded myself. So I'm down to about 2 weeks. I've moved my, this is Chad, is the Conscientious Crusader. Out training today again in Dishman Hills, outside of Spokane, Washington. And as you can see, I've gone up a real pretty hillside here. It has been raining like crazy for the last week, so I've been getting a lot of rucking done. And of course, I'm going to be on the highway most of the time, so this is just a little extra training for me. I've got my ruck up to 32 pounds, and that's where I'm going. It's pretty much done. That's where it stays. A little later, I'm going to do a video on how I've got it packed and why I packed it that way. And I'll keep it short because I don't know how to edit. The software doesn't work on my computer, so I kind of fire and forget with these videos. I just shoot them, and you get to see them as they come. Any rate, in 2 weeks, as I was saying before, I'm leaving. I've moved my start date up to May 6th, which will be leaving after the breakfast at VFW Post 1435, and I'll be heading over to Olympia, Washington, and that is VFW Post 318. And today, I wanted to talk about the VFW and what has happened to it. One of my realizations as I've gone here, and something that I've learned over the last couple of years, is that we went a generation without a war. And we went from Vietnam to basically, Afghanistan and Iraq without a war. I mean, yeah, we had some giant live fire exercises in there, Gulf War, Grenada, Panama, things like that. And I'm not demeaning combat to anybody. All I'm saying is, I define a war as how many body bags are coming home, every day, for years on end. And even by my definition, I have a issue with the last one because there's only 5,000 of us killed in Iraq and Afghanistan in a 10-year period. I mean, that was Tet. That was 15 minutes at Iwo Jima. It's just, the world has changed. And back to my point, so is the VFW, because we skipped a generation. When you go in there now, I'm calling these guys, they don't even have email. They don't have internet in there. They don't, they just serve alcohol, straight alcohol and beer. They don't mix drinks. If it weren't for they'd still smoke in there if the law let them. I looked on the VFW website today. The median age is 63 years old. 99.3% of the members are men. Prostate health was the number one issue. Of all veterans, they all, 64% of them drive a pickup truck, followed by 20% of respondents who drove cars primarily. And 60% of them buy things online. However, they don't ruck. They don't Facebook. You look on an average VFW post, if they have a Facebook site, the last posting would be 2011, or in my post's case, 2013. And it's going away. It's going to be a thing of the past here pretty quick. And what's funny is the VFW was started as the Veterans of Foreign Wars, which was to separate themselves from all of the previous veterans which had fought in wars on United States soil. Spanish-American War, well, that was fought in Cuba too. But Mexican-American War, Indian Wars, and of course the Civil War, about 40 years before. That was predominant. So you got all these young guys that just come home from World War I who'd been serving in France and Germany, and in just a machine, a meat grinder of industrialized warfare, which nobody had seen. So they started the Veterans of Foreign Wars. And now, combat's so push button, and so, we don't throw massive piles of body and metal onto beaches anymore. So it has changed, and I guess in some sense, the veterans, have changed a little bit. And back then, too, when the VFW was formed, you went out to be social. People had telephones, but they were actually hooked to a wall with a wire, and you didn't chat on them. You just said, "Where are you going to be? I'll meet you there." And they went to dances and they hung out at the bars, with their fellow buddies who'd been through what they'd been through and talked about old times. The other is that many of the men would leave their hometowns together. They'd fight together. They'd be on the same ship. They'd be in the same army unit. They'd be on the same aircraft. It was pretty common. You could sign up with your buddies, your brother, and go together. And of course, that's gone now. And hell, in World War II, in Vietnam, when you've got 10%, almost the entire male population between ages of 18 and, 30, let's say, are drafted overseas in Vietnam. That was different. We haven't had a draft in 40 years. So most of the soldiers of my generation, were, of America's latest wars. We're volunteers and professional soldiers. They're lifers. And that's why you'll sit there and you see people protesting the war, and I laugh at it. I go, if it's so awful, how come we volunteered to go back? I've met guys that have done 6 tours. 6 tours. If you got drafted, you'd have done 1 and got out. So, anyway, just something I noticed today. I'm afraid if the VFW doesn't change, and change real quick, they're going to go by the wayside. And with all of the counseling and support groups and networking that's available today too, I understand the need for not, why maintain, $1 million worth of real estate with a canteen, officers, meetings, intake, rent, light bills, leaky roofs, etc., insurance, when, we can all do it online and, and meet up. Go rucking, go camping, go paintballing. The Veterans Outreach Center here in Spokane is incredible. It is just a hub of activity for our veterans and their families, as well as counseling. And I think you'll see obviously there's a less dependence on alcohol and isolation. Of course, we all do it. I did. But I don't know. It's just it's a better life. Everybody's out there to support us. War hasn't changed. We're all still Americans, and we're all still fought. We'll all step up, and the next generation will be the same thing. Even when the millennials, when it comes their time, don't worry about them. They're Americans, and they will step up. Whether the VFW will still be around, that's another story. Any rate, that was just what was on my mind today. This is Chad, the Conscientious Crusader. Submit down below. If you get a chance, go over and sign my White House petition to end the Reed method of interrogation and false confessions used by law enforcement. That's what I'm marching for, and that'll be all. At any rate, I will see you next time.